Lieutenant Lyon Coulson, Deputy Commander of the 3rd Company of the 1st Battalion of the Ranger Regiment, report to you. A mellow, yet steady, young voice, accompanied by the breeze when walking, sounded in the spacious office. Got out of the heavy documents on the desk and looked up at the young man in military uniform standing upright at his desk. Phil Collison felt a move in his heart and suddenly felt a little relieved. A grey-green army uniform, with a close-fitting design, makes the youth's tall and straight figure look even more outstanding. The slightly raised sword eyebrows lined the trimmed short brown hair, making those pale blue eyes extraordinarily deep. It's just that at this time the handsome face of the young man was full of astonishment, as if he was very surprised by the situation in front of him. Collison got up from the chair, returned a military salute to the surprised young man, and then smiled. "Long time no see, Leon." The youth in military uniform was also ignorant, and subconsciously returned a military salute. Then, as if waking up from a dream, he asked, "Hey? Uncle Phil?" Collison just smiled without saying a word, pointed his finger to the opposite seat, and said, "Why are you still standing? Sit down." "Yes, sir." Although he was still very puzzled, the young man in military uniform reached out his hand to take off his military cap, hugged it under his arm, and took a step forward, facing his uncle or future boss, and sat down. "Welcome to the Bureau of National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support. I'm an agent, Phil Coulson." After introducing himself, Phil Collison still winked at Leon mischievously. However, Leon was not amused by his uncle's behavior. Instead, he frowned and his face was filled with doubts. "What's the matter? Uncle Phil, didn't you work in an accounting company? How did you suddenly become an agent? And still in the department with this super long name?" Leon knew tomorrow morning that this Uncle Phil was an agent of SHIELD, but he also put on an expression of "I don't know anything, I'm shocked." If there is an Oscars in this world, Leon Collison's acting skills can simply nominate the best actor. Phil Coulson naturally did not expect that his nephew, as early as 3 years ago, knew his secret identity. "Haha, I'm sorry, I kept it from you for so long." Phil Coulson smiled triumphantly, bared his white teeth, and continued to explain, "Because of the special nature of this job, I need to keep it secret, so I can tell you in advance." Leon continued to put on a surprised expression and said, "Could it be that you are the one who transferred me to this department?" "That's right." Phil Coulson snapped his fingers, and then said, "However, Director Fury also agreed." "Fry also knows?" Leon's heart shuddered, and then he let it go. "Also, as an observer of the whole world and the reason for the loyalty of the organization, Fury will pay more attention to everyone who joins S.H.I.E.L.D. What's more, he is still Collison's nephew. By the way, are you still accustomed to living in the new residence that the Bureau arranged for you?" It's okay." After a brief chat about the homework, Collison crossed his fingers and seemed to become another person. "I think you should be very curious about what this department does, right? Although I have known for a long time that this is a special department that specializes in handling strange events," Leon still pretended to be "I don't know, I'm curious on the surface," nodded and replied, "Yes. The full name of this department is the National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau, but I prefer its abbreviation, S.H.I.E.L.D. This is a secret intelligence service established by the World Security Council. Its history can be traced back to World War II. After briefly introducing the history of SHIELD, Collison looked at Leon's eyes and asked again, "Do you know the meaning of this name?" Leon shook his head. At this time, Collison got up from the seat, came to Leon's side, put his right hand on his shoulder, and said earnestly, "This name means that we are a line of defense, resisting any unknown enemy, beyond human imagination. The warrior of things is also the guardian who strives to keep this world from being destroyed." I have to say that Phil Collison can become Fury's confidant and be regarded as a friend by the Avengers. He has his own reason. Outstanding eloquence and funny personality are important reasons why he can occupy a place in SHIELD. Even Lion, who is familiar with this world, was enthusiastic about what he said, wishing to immediately devote himself to the arduous task of protecting world peace. After speaking some exciting words, Collison returned to the seat again and continued to explain to his nephew, "I have read your report. Based on your mission performance and training results during your Ranger period, it was decided that you don't need to go to the combat department to accumulate experience and you can invest directly in the mission. Therefore, you will be transferred directly to the Specialty Operations Department, which is my department. Also, your authority level is 4, this is your agent's ID." Talking, Collison took out a black police badge from the drawer and handed it over. Leon took a look. In addition to his own name and profile picture, there is also a LEVEL4 label on the police badge. Level 4? SHIELD is a hierarchical intelligence agency. It was originally established by the USZF and is now affiliated with the United Nations. And SHIELD actually has a very interesting agent hierarchy. However, the classification of this agent's rank has nothing to do with the size or strength of the official rank. SHIELD agent will be based on the work content, work performance, work ability, and file length of each SHIELD agent. UU reading www.uuganshu.com conducts the assessment of the level of security clearance, which has also led to some frontline operational agents that may be as high as or even higher than the leaders of certain branches. However, in most cases, the security clearance level of agents does not affect S.H.I.E.L.D's chain of command. This agent level is not only the intelligence access authority of SHIELD, but also the security certification level. This means that the higher the level, the more confidential the information you know, and the higher SHIELD trusts you. Different digital levels correspond to different levels of access permission. There are 10 levels in this level, with level 1 being the lowest and level 10 being the highest. In short, level 1 to level 6 agents can only know general secrets, and level 7 and above agents can know high-level secrets. In the entire SHIELD, there is currently only one level 10 agent, the Director of SHIELD, Nick Fury. Generally, newcomers who have just entered SHIELD can obtain an agent level up to level 4. Therefore, Leon was very satisfied when he saw the LEVEL4 on his brand. The higher the level, the more confidential information can be seen, and the more helpful it is for him to participate in various major events. Thinking of the superheroes who are about to appear, Leon can't wait to upgrade from level 4 to level 7 right away. Okay, let's stop here. When you go to the department to report first, the Patton Union will familiarize you with the work. If you have any questions, just ask him. Okay. Leon nodded. Just getting up from the seat, Leon, who had not yet reacted, was given a big hug by Collison. After released, Phil Coulson opened his arms and showed Leon his brightest smile. Well, welcome to join SHIELD. Ding! The Aegis newcomer task has been completed and the reward has been issued. Please pay attention to check it. Lion, who had just walked out of Coulson's office, had not had time to recover from the excitement of joining SHIELD, when he was stopped by a mechanical sound in his mind. Completed the mission? Sinking down, Leon walked to his work department without squinting, and opened his system interface in his mind. A transparent light curtain made by his own imagination suddenly appeared in Leon's mind. He didn't feel any surprise, he just opened one of the panels called Tasks directly, the interface jumped, and a lot of words that seemed to be seen often when playing games appeared. Task status, completed. After reading the prompt message of task completion, Leon muttered 3 years, finally, and clicked on another panel called Characters on his system interface again. Skills, Firearms Proficiency, Combat Proficiency, Medical Proficiency, Transportation Proficiency. Looking at the 10,000 experience already paid on the panel, Leon's handsome face also couldn't help but smile. Who Now, I can finally learn new skills after a long time. This thing that exists in Leon's mind, like a game system, is actually a survival guide he brought with him when he traveled. He, Leon Coulson, is no longer the original Leon Coulson. At this moment, the soul that exists in his body is a 21st century celestial youth named Li Ang from another parallel time and space. Everything must start 3 years ago. 3 years ago, 17-year-old Lion Coulson, in order to relieve the tension caused by the upcoming American SAT test, decided to drive with a few friends to the beach in New Jersey for a wonderful self-driving tour. Who knows, several young and energetic lads accidentally encountered a car accident during a night driving. Several people in the same group have suffered minor injuries. Among them, Leon Coulson suffered the most serious injury. As his head was slammed frontally on the steering wheel during the impact, he had fallen into a brain-dead coma when he was admitted to the hospital. And at the same moment in different timelines, different time and space, another soul, who had lost his body, somehow suddenly attached to Leon Coulson's body lying in the intensive care unit of the hospital. This soul has a name exactly like the original owner of the body, Li Ang. Li Ang, an ordinary young man who lives in another parallel time and space, is addicted to online novels and stand-alone games. At that time, he was sitting attentively in front of the computer, pressing the mouse frantically, while clashed with a new martial arts management game Tai Di Hua Wan. Who knows, the sudden power outage of the building caused the computer to leak. The huge electric current directly caused the unlucky young man holding the mouse to instantly lose his vital signs, and his soul also escaped. Maybe it was God's arrangement. Under the circumstances, Li Ang became Leon. When Leon Coulson awoke from the bed in the ICU intensive care unit, it took him a full week to accept the cruelty of traveling into another world even after he had read countless web posts. Reality. After all, it's one thing to watch people travel through, but it's another thing to travel by yourself. This situation of him is explained by the terms of online novels. To put it bluntly, it means that he has passed through, and it is still a soul. What makes him even more surprised is that with the soul crossing, it is a too dirty picture scroll system of goodwill. However, before he could figure out the role of this Roush system, he was suddenly attracted by two uninvited guests who came to visit him, a bald black man with a blindfold on his left eye and a black windbreaker, and a white man in a black suit with a friendly smile, looking like an ordinary office worker. When Leon saw the faces of the two clearly, he instantly understood which world he had come into. Because the two who stood in front of him and asked him "How do you feel?" were the very important SHIELD director Nick Fury in the Marvel movies. And SHIELD commander, Phil Coulson. This is the world of Marvel. Not only that, but from the memory he inherited, he discovered a surprising fact: he, Leon Coulson, is the nephew of Phil Coulson. This is very interesting. Although he is not a Marvel fan, he has seen almost all Marvel movies. After all, superhero movies have been very popular in recent years. However, no movie mentions that Phil Coulson has a nephew. Of course, the fact that there is no mention in the movie does not mean that there is no such person in the world of this movie. The movie is just a microcosm of this world. For this identity that suddenly settled on him, Leon did not resist, but was a little grateful. Let alone solve his own identity problem, the most important thing is that he has a channel to contact SHIELD Bureau. There are people in the court who can do things well, right? Actually, from the moment you read www.yuyuganshu.com, Leon knew one thing: this is a world where superheroes fly in the sky and aliens invade from time to time. If you want to survive in this world, you must become stronger. The two people in front of him reminded him, SHIELD, perhaps a good choice. However, even if he is Coulson's nephew, Nick Fury cannot let him join SHIELD at the age of 17. Unless, he showed the ability to be competent for various dangerous tasks of SHIELD. Just as he was thinking about how to speak, and to show his ability that he was able to understand the development of the plot to the two SHIELD bosses, he suddenly saw Nick Fury's head in a line appeared in a fight game. Blood tank. And under the blood tank, the words favorability, indifferent were clearly written. This weird phenomenon shocked Leon's heart. He seemed to have thought of something, and immediately turned his attention to his cheap uncle Phil Coulson. Sure enough, as he expected, there was also such a blood trough on Phil Coulson's head. However, unlike Nick Fury, underneath Coulson's blood tank, it says friendship, intimacy. Not only that, but around Coulson's body, there were also multiple floating and spinning of various colors. Take a closer look, each light ball has its own name: guns proficiency, fighting proficiency, proficient in Spanish. When he fixed his gaze on one of the white of light named, the light ball changed again, and several words floated on the light ball: do you study? Just as the memories of the past flashed in Leon's mind, a tentative cry made him instantly regain his senses. Are you lost? Leon slowly raised his head when he heard the sound, looking at the person who came. Is a blonde beauty in a women's suit. A silky blonde hair was tied into a naughty ponytail. The tall nose and the slightly raised corners of the mouth make the brown eyes hidden under the willow eyebrows more kind. This is a young woman who is very helpful. Leon thought so in his heart, but he replied, oh. Excuse me, did I bother you? The blonde girl smiled slightly and waved her hand. It's not true, I just noticed you. I have been standing here for a long time and seem to need some help, so. Oh, I see. Leon moved in his heart and smiled, yes, I need your help. As he said, Leon seemed to think of something, and suddenly stretched out his right hand. Oh, yes, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Leon, Leon Coulson. I just joined the game as a rookie. The blonde girl smiled, without any twisting. She reached out and held Leon's hand directly. Hello, my name is Sharon Carter, from the War Department. Sharon Carter. SHIELD is indeed an active participant in various Marvel plots. No, as soon as I joined, I met Captain America's future girlfriend. Leon said with emotion from the bottom of his heart and continued to smile. Hello, Agent Carter, if you don't mind, can you tell me how to get the Special Operations Department? Of course. Sharon Carter turned around and pointed his finger in the direction of the hall. Go through the hall, at the corner of the southwest wing, take the elevator to the third floor, and you will see the Special Operations Department logo. After writing down the route silently in his heart, Leon also smiled and thanked. This way, thank you very much. You are welcome. Looking at the leaving figure in a daze, Sharon Carter also muttered in a low voice, a newcomer? I didn't expect to be so young. Speaking of it, as one of the headquarters of SHIELD, the spaciousness of the hub is simply amazing. The lobby alone is enough to build 2 standard football fields. One can imagine how big the Trident headquarters in Washington is. Following the guidance of Sharon Carter, Leon passed through the crowded hall and took the elevator to the third floor. As soon as he stepped out of the elevator, Leon saw a sign of SHIELD on the wall not far away, under which the English terms Special Operations Department were written. Is here. Take a deep breath. Leon used his secret agent's name tag to swipe the scanner next to the automatic sensor door. With a beep, the door was opened. As soon as he walked into the Special Operations Department, Leon was immediately watched by all the eyes of the entire office. In those sights, some were curious, some scrutinized, and some were hostile, which made Leon immediately feel the enthusiasm of his colleagues. Maybe because the space is too large and the number of people is too small, the whole department looks a little deserted. But there was still a hint of tension in the air. Leon changed his mind, but also found it reasonable. After all, this is the SHIELD Special Operations Department with the strictest recruitment standards. It is not expensive. Is he the newcomer? Too young to be too young. It should be. Didn't you see him still wearing army uniform? I heard that he was only 20 years old, less than 12 months old. He was promoted from second lieutenant to lieutenant. The people sitting in the office also pressed their voices and discussed this young newcomer lively. Even if it is an elite group of SHIELD Bureau, Lyon's resume is considered to be the most beautiful one. Was admitted to the famous Military Academy of Virginia Military Academy at the age of 17, and conducted all-round training. At the age of 19, he graduated from the Virginia Military Academy in advance with all excellent results, and immediately joined the Ranger Regiment, one of the 4 major special forces in the United States. In less than 12 months, he was promoted to lieutenant with his outstanding mission performance and excellent physical fitness. He served as the deputy commander of the 3rd Company of the 1st Battalion of the Ranger Regiment, becoming the youngest deputy commander in history. If he continues to stay in the Ranger, maybe he will only break the record. Just when everyone was wondering why he came to SHIELD, a burly figure stood up from its position and took 3 steps in 2 steps, blocking Leon's way. Hello. Looking at the other's tough face and the name tag on his chest, Leon quickly understood that the burly white man standing in front of him was exactly the person he wanted to find. Oh, hello. I think you are the Agent Patton that Chief Collison said. A neat short hair, a look that is more than 90% similar to Jeremy Renner, a burly figure, and various details all reveal the identity of the person in front of Leon. Yes, I am Clint Barton. The man nodded. Are you the newcomer who was transferred this time, Leon Coulson? Yes, sir. Leon saluted. I've heard Collison tell me about you. Although it's a bit troublesome, but in the next 2 months, I will be your immediate superior. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. I understand. Hawkeye's attitude, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com is not too good. This did not surprise Leon. Judging from the coldness of the opponent's head, we can know what kind of attitude Hawkeye has towards his arrival. He understands that no matter how glamorous his resume in the Rangers, he is a rookie who knows nothing when he comes to SHIELD. It is obviously an idiotic dream to want the respect of others before making achievements recognized by colleagues. Therefore, he immediately closed his legs and saluted his boss with a proper military salute. Understood. Sir. Button looked at Leon up and down, and after a while, he withdrew his gaze, nodded and said, well, I will first familiarize you with the environment, and by the way, change your uniform that looks like a fool. Just 2 steps out, Button seemed to think of something, suddenly stopped, turned his head, and said to Leon, who was confused, also, we are not an army here, so I don't like saluting very much, so. Clear. Leaving the discussion behind him, Leon followed Patton, first familiarized himself with the working environment, and then changed into a lighter Aegis uniform in the locker room. Navy blue stand-up collar jacket, both arms are printed with the SHIELD Eagle logo. The close-fitting human body design and the composite fiber material make the entire agent uniform wear on Lyon's tall and linear figure, highlighting his heroic spirit. However, Leon had just changed his clothes, and not long after sitting down, a voice that made people unable to ignore suddenly sounded in the office, Alarm Level 5. Alarm Level 5. The hostage-taking incident occurred in Osborne Building, request support on the spot. At the same time, Leon's mind also had a long-lost voice, ding. Task status, to be completed task reward, 2000 experience. The content of the task is not cumbersome and very simple. Judging from the large and small tasks that Lyon has taken over the past few years, this is undoubtedly a side task that was triggered suddenly. The characteristic of side missions is that they appear anytime, anywhere, and are rich in experience. However, there is often an implicit requirement, that is, the task time is very short. In other words, if this task cannot be completed quickly, the task will fail and the 2000 experience will disappear. Leon is not worried that his first mission will fail. After all, the leader of the team this time is the Hawkeye who stands at the pinnacle of human stamina, Clint Barton. Don't talk about terrorists, even if they are superpowers or super fighters, Hawkeye can deal with them. What he cares more about is whether he can benefit from this mission. Benefits other than experience. He heard that it was the famous technology group, the Osborne Group, who was held hostage this time. Just as he was making his own calculations, the jets of the fighter jets also sprayed blue flames, and the entire Kun-style fighter gradually lifted into the air. From the top of the tarmac, slowly opened a small skylight, allowing the fighter to leave the hub. Through the window of the fighter plane, Lion once again saw the location of the hub, a mountain of mountains. Since the location is confidential, Lion is not sure where the hub of one of the headquarters of SHIELD is actually located. However, from the fighter plane flying all the way to the southeast, within half an hour, when he saw the bustling New York, he probably guessed the location of the hub. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle of the continental United States. The unexpected mission level was level 5. SHIELD sent a 6-person special agent team led by Clint Barton, codenamed Eagle Eye. During the long or short flight, Leon and his teammates exchanged names. Leon unexpectedly discovered that in this team, except for Hawkeye, who is a level 6 agent, he is the lowest level. The other 4 are all at level 5. This makes Leon feel a little depressed. No way, who makes him a newcomer? On the plane, as the team leader of this mission, Clint Barton also used the communicator of the headset to brief his opponents on the mission. According to the information returned by the police, FBI, CIA, etc., this task is not easy. The enemy is a group of masked terrorists who suddenly appeared. Well-trained and powerful firepower, within a short period of time, he attacked the Osborne Building, one of the most secure group buildings in New York. In addition, the entire building was blocked by manipulating the internal monitoring system of the building. In the entire building, there are more than 1,000 Osborne Group employees in it. Even the chairman and president of the Osborne Group, the senior group headed by Norman Osborne, are locked in the building and cannot escape. Such a bad situation makes the police, FBI, and other departments on the scene feel at a loss. Finally, I had to send a request for support to the elites of the National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau. I pray that these special agents with special skills have a good way to break the game. Ho ho ho. As the warplanes hovered around the building in midair, Lion, the Aegis Squad, had a more direct impression of the situation it was currently facing. Looking at the ground of the building from the air, you can find that the entire Osborne Building, which is so high and high-tech, has long been surrounded by police and special police, 3 stories inside and 3 outside. Not only that, but snipers were arranged on the roofs of several buildings around the building, as if they were waiting for the enemy to appear before they would be hit. When Hawkeye took Leon and his men down and reached the top of one of the buildings, they also received further intelligence reports from the scene. Pressing the communication of the headset, Clint Barton, carrying a bow and arrow, looked at the Osborne Building just in front of him, and felt a little headache. 20 armed enemies, more than 1,000 hostages. It's a bit difficult now. Not only Clint Barton, but even Leon, who was very confident at the beginning, felt a pain in his temples after listening to the detailed report on the scene. It's not that he is not in good health, he is in good health. It's just the bad situation in front of him, which made his optimism at first disappear. Originally thought this was a novice mission, Lion, who followed the Eagle Eye to make waves, and then gained some experience, did not expect that this group of terrorists would actually play such a big game. 20 people blocked the entire building, and they still held all the people in the entire building invisibly. Besides, he didn't dare to break into the door directly and enter and shoot at the culprits. Who knows, if they are unhappy, they kill 1 or 2 hostages for fun. This is also the reason why the police and special police at the scene did not dare to take any action and could only blockade the surroundings of the building and wait for support. Otherwise, this kind of thing that is not within the scope of the work of SHIELD does not require super agents such as Hawkeye. However, there is good news, but Clint Button's frowning eyebrows loosened a lot. The number of opponents is only over 20. If it is scattered in various areas, there will definitely be unguarded floors. As long as they can enter the building silently, and then quickly attack the surveillance center and retake the surveillance cameras in the entire building, it is equivalent to controlling the site of the entire building. In this way, it is not a difficult task to defeat the enemy layer by layer and rescue the hostages according to the monitoring screen. This kind of hostage rescue task, the difficulty is actually the enemy inside the building while ensuring the safety of the hostages. In this case, the hostage-taking gangsters generally have to ask for something. But this time, what Hawkeye didn't expect was... what? They didn't make any requirements or conditions. The FBI commander's report on the scene caused Hawkeye to frown again and whispered, "Then why are they taking hostages?" Lion, who was standing on the side, also moved in his heart, as if thinking of something, and said, "Sir, I think we are all wrong." Upon hearing this, Clint Barton turned his head and looked at Leon, the newcomer who was on the mission for the first time. "What do you mean?" Seeing everyone's eyes focused on himself, Leon did not show a flustered expression. "I think the reason they need hostages is not that they need to use hostages as a bargaining chip, but the key." Key. Everyone looked suspicious, and Hawkeye also showed a pensive look. After a while, he said a name with a serious face, "Norman Osborn." "That's right. I think their purpose is obvious, that is, the biotechnology of the Osborn Group. As the world's top biotechnology company, the Osborn building contains the technology crystallization of the entire group. The value of these technologies cannot be measured by money at all. And these technologies are naturally kept in a very safe place, where only one or two specific people can open it." Leon stepped forward, pointed to the skyscraper standing in front of him, and said categorically, "So, I think, while we are discussing how to save the hostages from them, they may have already got what they want." At this time, after listening to Lion's analysis, Clint Button also played the role of the captain, summarizing the words of his subordinates. "In other words, we can't drag on any longer." After finishing speaking, Clint Barton also glanced at Leon with admiration. "This kid has a good brain." After clarifying the enemy's purpose, everyone who felt that time was limited, all looked at the majestic mansion in unison. In the building, there are their goals. However, the first problem Clint Barton, Leon, and others have to face is how to enter the building without being discovered by the terrorists in the building. It is almost impossible to enter the building from the gate. The same goes for the roof. The opponent must have foreseen that the roof will be a good spot for assault, and the opponent will definitely place heavy guards on the roof. If they choose to attack on the roof, they will only be discovered by the enemy and fall into the frontal attack and defense with the opponent. This is not a good choice for them and the hostages in the building. While everyone was discussing various ways to enter the building, Leon was attracted by the crane in the building next door. The huge yellow tower crane, the tower arm is like a yellow steel bridge across the sky, making people startled. Looking at the long arms of the tower crane, Leon suddenly thought of a bold plan. He walked steadily, came to Clint Barton's side, pointed to the conspicuous tower crane, and said, "I think we can use this big guy to enter the building." The crowd followed the sound and looked at the tower crane. Tower crane? Just when everyone looked puzzled, www.mtlnovel.com, Leon revealed his plan to infiltrate. Since the enemy has controlled the surveillance of the building, it is impossible for us to enter the building without being discovered. But... Leon paused, showing a charming smile to everyone. "What if we immediately regain control of the monitoring center as soon as we enter the building? Tell me about your plan." Clint Barton looked at Leon, who looked confident, and said again, "It's like this. I just checked the architectural drawings of the Osborn Group building and found a very interesting place." As he said, he held a SHIELD notebook and showed it to everyone. On the computer screen, there are three-dimensional architectural drawings of the Osborne Group. Lion pointed to one of the floors of the building and introduced, the 18th floor is the floor where the monitoring center is located. According to the structure of the building and the length of the tower's boom, if we can use the boom of the tower crane to move to the surface of the building, which is the location of the monitoring center, then break the outer wall of the monitoring center in one fell swoop, enter the building, and eliminate the monitoring the enemy in the center. In this way, we can unconsciously implement the rescue plan made before. Control and monitor, destroy layer by layer. After listening to Lion's plan, everyone felt that it was very feasible. But, here comes the problem, that is the 18th floor. If you accidentally fall off the tower arm, it will fall into meat sauce without discussing it. Moreover, in order not to attract attention, there should be fewer candidates than more candidates to implement this mid-air dive plan. Therefore, after everyone's deliberation, the burden of implementing the plan was placed on the shoulders of Clint Barton, the best player, and Leon, who proposed this plan. Ho was standing on the mobile arm of the tower about 200 feet above the ground, letting the whistling wind continue to invade his ears. The hair that was blown by the wind always touched the tight nerve in his heart. If it weren't for putting on the goggles in advance and the heavy parachute bag behind him, Leon's heart might not be as calm as it seemed. He suddenly felt that he was dying to propose this bold plan. Lion held the handles on both sides tightly with both hands, and lowered his head to pay attention to the landing point of his feet. For fear of stepping in the air, he experienced the feeling of free landing from a height of more than 200 feet. However, he was relieved that proposing this plan and fighting it personally made Clint Barton look at him with admiration, and his favorability rose from cold at the beginning to harmonious. In this way, it seemed that it was within reach of him to learn the skills of this super agent. In the past 3 years, Lion's biggest gain has not been to successfully integrate into this MCU world and truly become a member of the whole world, but to figure out what functions he has passed through his own favorability system. The biggest use of this system is that it allows Leon to see how other people like him and learn various skills from other people. Is the same as the martial arts game Two Dirty Painted Scroll he played before crossing, and his favorability is also leveled. Through making friends with various people, he probably inferred that the liking level of the liking system is divided into 7 levels, from low to high, strange, indifferent, harmonious, enthusiastic, like, intimacy, and perseverance. When the favorability reaches the enthusiasm level, Leon can not only see the skills held by the opponent, but also spend experience and learn the skills of the opponent. Of course, since there is a level of favorability, it is impossible for the skill to have no distinction between high and low. It's just that the skill level is not as easy to test as the favorability. So far, he has only seen 2 levels of skills, ordinary and excellent. The normal level skills can be learned without any experience. This is why he was able to go from an ordinary student with an average score of B to an excellent student with an average score of A on the eve of the SAT college entrance examination. Who made his friends? Besides the scumbag, there are also scumbags. According to his tests over the years, there must be even more powerful levels above the excellent level. Therefore, he joined SHIELD, on the one hand to better participate in the various plots of this MCU world, on the other hand, to use the signboard of SHIELD to contact the superheroes and find opportunities. Learn the skills of the opponent. However, he didn't expect that as soon as he joined SHIELD, he would be put under Eagle Eye, one of the Avengers. Speaking of Hawkeye, as everyone knows, he is a marksman. If Leon can learn his magic shooting skills, then it will be a very important help for him to improve his combat power. After all, this is the man who shoots most in the entire Marvel world. At this time, just when Leon was a little distracted, a naughty strong wind slammed into the 2 people high in the sky. "Hey! Call!" was trembling slightly by the sudden strong wind, and almost trampled on the solace of his feet. He had a good temper like Leon, and he couldn't help but yelled, "Shit! Clint Button, who was walking ahead, stopped when he heard Leon's yelling, and asked loudly, "Lion, how is it?" Holding the handrails on both sides tightly, in order to keep his voice from being drowned out by the howling wind, Leon replied loudly, "I'm fine, I was just taken aback by the wind." "Well, it's coming soon, hold on." "Okay." Clint Button is right. Looking forward from the boom, the outer wall of the Osborne Group building is almost within reach. However, the bitter cold temperature and the whistling wind reminded the two of them at all times that it was at an altitude of more than 200 feet. All actions must be cautious and then cautious. Taking the huge risk of falling from a high altitude, it took about half an hour. Clint Barton and Leon finally came to the front end of the boom of the tower crane, which is in front of the 18th floor of the outer wall of the Osborne building. Touching the outer wall of the building with his hand, Clint Barton is also in the bottom of his heart again, giving a thumbs up to Lion's bold plan. Did not expect that they really succeeded. If the architectural drawings did not lie to them, on the other side of this wall, it is the room of the monitoring center. At this time, Leon penetrated the outer wall through the thermal glasses he was wearing, and saw the situation on the other side of the wall. 1. 2. From the feedback of thermal energy, the enemies of the monitoring center are scattered, 2 on the left and 3 on the right. Leon reported to Clint Barton beside him. In the pocket of the body armor, I took out a disc-shaped mini-bomb device. Posted on the outer wall, "Sir, please give me an order." Clint Barton took out his compound bow from behind, with the other hand holding the handrail of the tower arm tightly, and said to Leon, "My on the right, yours on the left, okay. Clear. Let's start then." As soon as the voice fell, Leon pressed the remote control in his hand. Boom! With a muffled noise, a big hole was blown out in the outer wall of the building. The smoke caused by the explosion instantly filled the entire monitoring center. What happened? The terrorists who were in the room were all deprived of a short reaction time by this sudden explosion. At that moment, 2 vigorous figures jumped in from outside the cave. Leon rolled forward and fired 2 shots instantly while kneeling on one knee. Bang bang! Sounded at the same time, and there were 3 faint inaudible voices. "Call out! Call out!" When Leon turned his head and looked to the right, he found that the 3 enemies with guns on the right were all lying on the floor. And what they have in common is that there is a pitch-black sharp arrow stuck in the throat. Needless to say, this is obviously the masterpiece of the marksman beside him. Seeing that the enemies in the room were resolved, Clint Barton patted Leon on the shoulder and smiled, "The marksmanship is good. You're good too." Leon's answer made Clint Barton stunned, and then he laughed, "Haha, you are really a funny guy." Leon shrugged, spread his hands, and pretended, "No way, I'm so funny and humorous. A lot of people say that." Entering the building is only the first step in this rescue mission. Both Leon and Button know that time waits for no one. The longer time delays, it is not a good thing for them and the hostages. Therefore, after getting the enemy in the surveillance center, the two went to the surveillance computer to try to lift the blockade of the entire Osborne building. Looking at the various unknown codes on the computer screen, Clint Barton was a little helpless. Damn it! Computers are not my strong suit. At this time, Leon, who was standing on the side, stretched out his hands and quickly tapped on the keyboard. A few seconds later, following his operation, a reminder message of blocking status has been lifted popped up on the screen. Looking at everything that happened before him, Clint Barton couldn't help showing a hint of surprise, looked at Leon, and asked curiously, "You know how to use a computer?" Leon smiled back, "Well, I know a little bit." Of course, he wouldn't tell Hawkeye that the computer is just one of his worthless strengths. The blockade of the building has been lifted. In this way, it is possible to enter the building while waiting for backup on the ground. Without a pause, Clint Barton immediately communicated through the headset, allowing other members of the team, who had been waiting at the door of the building, to enter the building together with other departments on the scene. Lucius, you come up to the monitoring center first. Others will cooperate with the on-site department to evacuate the people on each floor. When encountering enemies, try to keep the movement to the lowest level. Don't let the enemies on other floors find that we have entered the building. Yes, sir. After using the headset to give the order, Clint Barton turned his head and saw Leon looking at one of the monitoring screens with a serious face, frowning between his eyebrows. What's the matter? I think we will move faster. Leon pointed to the monitor screen with a heavy tone. The enemy has already got the key. Clint Barton looked at the surveillance screen. In the corridor on the 38th floor, 6 masked bandits with guns were escorting a middle-aged man in a suit to the elevator. The middle-aged man is obviously the important rescue target of this mission, Norman Osborn, the founder and chairman of the Osborn Group. From this, Leon's previous inference is undoubtedly correct. These masked bandits are not simply terrorists who sell their lives for money. What they want is the technology of the Osborn Group. While talking, the terrorists escorted Norman Osborn into the elevator. Seeing this scene, Clint Barton immediately patted Leon on the shoulder and said, "Go to the elevator lens, I want to know which floor they are going to." Leon controlled the monitoring panel and jumped to the elevator where a group of people were riding. Under the surveillance of the camera, both of them clearly saw that the terrorists' destination was the 27th floor. Without waiting for Clint Barton to ask questions, Leon said in advance, "There is the Osborn Group's Biotechnology Research and Development Center. It seems that we can't wait any longer." Did not let the two wait too long. The computer expert in the secret agent team, Lucius, quickly rushed to the monitoring center. As soon as he saw Lucius, Clint Barton immediately commanded, "You came just right," and the enemy took Norman Osborn to the Biotechnology Research and Development Center on the 27th floor. "Agent Lyon and I were going to rescue him. You are here to stare at the surveillance and report the enemy's location to us at any time." "Yes, sir." After finishing speaking, Clint Barton looked at Leon, who was taking out the silencer and putting on the pistol, and said, "Let's go." Leon did not answer, but nodded heavily. The two walked out of the monitoring center. Instead of using the convenient elevator, they plunged into the fire escape. They know that if they want to hit each other by surprise, they must be surprised. Ran from the 18th floor to the 27th floor, which is nothing for Lion. Not to mention, Hawkeye is a super agent who has reached the limit of human stamina. The two sprinted, and in just 20 seconds, they reached the 27th floor. It's just that, no matter how fast it is, it's not as fast as the elevator. Fortunately, the length of the corridor is a bit long, coupled with Norman Osborn's unwilling step forward, resulting in the enemy's speed, which is not fast. "Lucius, report the enemy's location." "Sir, the enemy took Mr. Osborn and came to the door of the R&D center, preparing to enter the R&D center." "Okay, how is the situation on Duncan's side?" Duncan is another member of the agent team. At this time, with the FBI and special police officers, starting from the lobby, they were purging the enemy layer by layer. Already advanced to the 12th floor, killed 8 enemies, and none of the hostages suffered casualties. After hearing the good news, Clint Barton was also relieved and smiled at Leon. "Then, it's up to us next." Leon pulled the bolt and replied coolly, "It's time for performance." "Haha, the mission is over, we must go for a drink." After speaking, Clint Barton stretched out his fist and motioned to Leon, "Deal." Leon stretched out his fist and touched his fist with Hawkeye, "Deal." Watching the actions of the two, Lucius standing in the monitoring center, Yu reading www.uuganshu.com also couldn't help sighing, these two people are really big hearts. Made an appointment with the two drinking parties, opened the door of the fire exit, and entered the 27th floor. Due to the location of the fire exit, it happened to be at the corner of the corridor. Coupled with the change of monitoring, the enemies standing in the R&D center only saw the elevator without movement, but didn't notice that the of death had already come to them. In front of the R&D center. Faster! The masked gangster urged again, and Norman Osborn, who was standing in front of the password door, said, "If you don't want your head to bloom, just enter the password." Norman Osborn, who was rubbing along the way, felt the cold muzzle on the back of his head, and his heart trembled, and he quickly accelerated his hand movements. With the input of the 8-digit login password, the bulletproof door of the R&D center is also slowly opened. The door was opened, and seeing all kinds of high-tech equipment in the R&D center, the masked gangsters couldn't help but physically take a halt, aiming at the muzzle of Norman Osborn, which was also shifted a lot. "Right now! Go!" With a low growl, two swift figures rushed out from the corner of the corridor. That is Leon Coulson, as well as Clint Button. The time of the two raid is perfect. As the 6 Gunner Med enemies were about to enter the R&D center, they relaxed their vigilance and all turned their backs to the two who suddenly jumped out. Such a good opportunity, how can two people with excellent marksmanship waste it? Bang bang bang! The low sound of gunfire and the breaking wind of arrows filled the entire space in an instant. Norman Osborn had not yet reacted when the gunfire sounded. The masked gangsters around him fell down one after another like dominoes. And he was unscathed. At this moment, Norman Osborn knew that his rescue was here. Turning around slowly, he saw the appearance of the reinforcements, a man with a compound bow with sharp eyes like a falcon, and a young man with a silenced pistol and squinted eyes. Judging from the two obviously different costumes from the masked bandits, and the eagle-shaped badge on their arms, Norman Osborn quickly guessed the identity of the two, friends, not enemies. The other party's words also verified his guess. The pistol was tucked back into the thigh holster, and Leon asked aloud, "Mr. Osborn, we are agents of the National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Bureau. You are safe now. Although I don't know, why did someone from the National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau come to save myself?" However, Norman Osborn is still very happy that he can escape from being held captive. More importantly, in this way, my company's confidential technology has not been robbed by these gangsters. Such good news made even Norman Osborn, who was a little bit ashamed, patted the dust on his suit with ease, and walked towards Lion and Button. "Thank you two very much. If it weren't for two, I might have given my life's hard work to these thugs." As he said, Norman Osborn extended his hand to the two. Shook hands with the famous Marvel villain. Leon saw that his boss Hawkeye didn't mean to speak, so he immediately answered, "Mr. Osborn, you are polite, this is just our duty." I have to say that Norman Osborn is worthy of being the helm of one of the major technology groups in Marvel. Even in the case of being held hostage by the culprits, he didn't show a panic at all. Moreover, the personable demeanor after being rescued makes people sigh, this is the real big shot's attitude of not being surprised. Even Lion, who knows that he will become the Green Goblin in the future, can't help but feel good. On the other hand, Norman Osborn was very grateful to Leon, a young boy who saved his life. He didn't care about Clint Button's indifferent attitude, but looked up and down Leon with his eyes. As far as he knows, the National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau is a very mysterious intelligence agency. Those who can enter this department are all elites. However, the young man in front of him definitely does not seem to be more than 23 years old. Was able to enter this department at a young age, and judging from the marksmanship just now, his skill is still so good. This made Norman Osborn a great curiosity about Leon, a lifesaver. He is very curious, whether the agents of the entire National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Security Bureau are so powerful, or is the young man of Lion a special case? At this time, perhaps it was the protection of the two SHIELD agents, Lion and Patton, that reminded him of the safety of other people in the company. Norman Osborn asked, "Excuse me, how is the situation in the building now?" Have the gangsters been wiped out? Don't worry, we have taken the monitoring center back and lifted the blockade of the building. Moreover, the FBI, special police and other troops also entered the building, and the gangsters should be eliminated soon. Hearing Leon's answer, Norman Osborn seemed to let go of his worries all at once. Helped Norman Osborn, who was a little embarrassed, into the Biological Research Center, and after finding a chair to sit down, Leon returned to Clint Barton's side. Hawkeye was using his headset to give orders to other SHIELD agents. Duncan, where have you been? Sir, we have reached the 20th floor. Agent Lyon and I have rescued Osborn. You continue to search upwards and wipe out all the enemies on all floors as soon as possible. Yes, sir. Lucius, you cooperate with Duncan, don't let the enemy have a chance to hurt the hostages or run away, you know. Clear. As soon as he gave the order, Clint Button heard Leon's voice coming from beside him. What should I do now? Turned his head and glanced at Leon. Clint Barton smiled and said, our task has been completed, and the rest of the finishing work is left to them. After all, they have to behave in front of taxpayers, right? Leon nodded thoughtfully. Oh, I understand. In fact, to rescue Norman Osborn, the group president, for the SHIELD team led by Clint Button, more than half of the mission has been completed. Therefore, taking advantage of other hungry troops rushing to the other floors of the building and pounced on the leisure of the few bandits, Lyon and Clint Barton also leisurely leaned against the wall of the corridor and began to rest. You are very good. Leon looked at Clint Barton dumbfounded, with a trace of doubt in his eyes. Are you complimenting me? Clint Barton nodded very simply, and continued, I thought you were just a young, self-righteous kid. But I didn't expect that your performance today really surprised me. What Phil said was really right. www.mtlnovel.com. Upon hearing this, Leon seemed to have realized something, and immediately showed a surprised expression. Sir, you know me and... Clint Button interrupted him directly, nonsense. Phil and I have been colleagues for 10 years, and his nephew has joined the bureau, would I not know? Forward. Leon scratched his head and showed an embarrassed expression. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hide it. It's okay, I understand. Phil told me. Clint Barton waved his hand and placed it on Leon's shoulder. He said deeply, that's why, Phil will let you go. The reason for me. Oh, I understand now. Leon suddenly figured out all the previous doubts. Why did Collison transfer him to the Special Operations Department and let him follow Clint Button? There is also the temptation of Hawkeye on him when he is out of the mission, and the inexplicable smile when he turns and leaves. All this is because, Hawkeye has long known that he is Collison's nephew. Not only that, but Collison must have asked Clint Barton, a longtime friend in private, to take care of him. Thinking of this, Leon felt warm in his heart. When he was about to speak, he was interrupted by the voice coming from the headset. Report, sir. The enemy has been wiped out, and no hostages have been injured. Okay, I received it. Leaving the scene, we met on the tarmac. Receive. This conversation means that this task has been successfully completed. At this time, Leon's mind also received a prompt to complete the task in time. Ding. The skyscraper rescue mission has been completed and the rewards have been issued. Please pay attention to check. In order to prevent others from being suspicious, Leon, who received the task prompt, did not show the joy or excitement he should have. However, what he didn't expect was that Clint Barton, who was standing beside him, had a higher level of evaluation when he saw Leon's so calm appearance. Now that the mission is complete, it's time to say goodbye to Osborn. Leon walked into Osborn's Biological Research Center and came to Norman Osborn. Mr. Osborn, the bandits in the building have been wiped out, and it's time for us to leave. Please take care, this country still I need someone like you to defend it. After the dust settled on the hijacking incident, Norman Osborn also changed back to the man in charge of a huge conglomerate with a market value of $200 billion. The appearance of a wise corporal, and the smile of his affinity, all make Lion felt like a spring breeze. Especially when he stretched out his hand to hold Leon's hand and said sincerely, "I don't know how to thank you all." Leon wanted to shout, "Big brother, I'll mess with you in the future." Judging from Osborn's dazzling favorite degree, harmony, the owner of the Osborn Group is very sincere for his gratitude to Lion for saving his life and important scientific research technology. Then, let's say goodbye first. At this time, Norman Osborn seemed to have suddenly remembered something, and quickly stopped Leon, who turned and left. "Oh. By the way, I don't know the names of the two yet." Hearing this question, Leon almost blurted out, "No thanks, my name is Red Scarf." Fortunately, I finally held back. As I said just now, this is just our responsibility. The implication is no thanks, I am. Throwing aside such an extremely slight remark, Leon waved his sleeves without taking away any gratitude. Looking at the back of someone who is leaving, Norman Osborn has a torch-like gaze, and muttered to himself, "Does the National Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau?" Human, sometimes, the more he is prevented from knowing what is in the box, the more curious he is, what is in the box. A group of people, sitting in a Kun-type fighter plane, return to the same route. Maybe the joy after the task is completed, making this journey home, invisibly, a lot faster. It didn't take long before everyone returned to the headquarters of SHIELD, the hub. As soon as they walked into the tactical hall, Leon and his party were overwhelmed by the harassment of SHIELD agents who kept coming to say hello. Especially Leon, a newcomer who has just joined for less than 5 hours, has received the most attention of the entire team. This is the newcomer who completed the level 5 mission the first time he was out of the mission. This is the reaction of most people when they see Leon. Surprised, envied, approved. All kinds of eyes are gathered on him, which makes him a little uncomfortable. Some people even walked up directly, patted him on the shoulder, and left an old-fashioned saying, "Young man, work hard, you are very promising," and walked away. In fact, before the Lion team returned to the hub, under the impetus of a caring person, the content of this mission was spread throughout SHIELD. Obviously, even SHIELD, which works very well in keeping secrets, cannot stop the rapid spread of internal gossip. This mission, for the rest of the team, may be just an ordinary rescue mission. However, for Leon, who was on a mission for the first time, this mission was not a fruitful one. Through this mission, he just joined SHIELD, and demonstrated to his colleagues and superiors his superior abilities as a fighter and the leap in tactical thinking. A teammate who can come up with various solutions is naturally much better than a teammate who can only obey orders. Therefore, it is also expected to get everyone's recognition and praise. Not only that, in this mission, he also personally rescued the president of the Osborn Group, and unexpectedly gained a friendship from the Green Devil Norman Osborn. This is what makes Leon more concerned. As early as a few years ago, he understood that the capital that he used to settle down in this Marvel world was the favorite system that had the same destiny as himself. For him, goodwill is equal to knowledge, equal to skills, equal to everything. Therefore, no matter who it is, as long as there is a chance to improve the other's goodwill, Leon will do his best to do anything. A word, favor? Just brush it. Ahem, of course. Compared to the goodwill of such superheroes as Thor and Captain America, the boss of the Osborn Group will not be of much help to the improvement of Lion's combat power. After all, Norman Osborn does not have any superpowers. But, one more friend is better than one more enemy, isn't it? What's more, sometimes, money is also a manifestation of strength. Borrowed from a wearing a tin can, and a buddy next door who hid in a cave and played with bats. Recognition, friendship, those are relatively unreal things. What can benefit Lion right away is naturally the reward after the task is completed: experience. Speaking of experience, I got rid of the congratulations of other colleagues in the department and returned to Lion where I was seated. Only then did I have time to check the 2000 experience I had received. Reading www.youcanshu.com. Looking at the more than 12,000 experiences on his system panel, even Lion, who doesn't like to express his emotions, can't help but smile like an old father. More than 12,000 experience. This is enough for him to learn 12 level skills, or directly learn 1 level skills. For example, Eagle Eye Clint Button's End. That's right, when he saw that Hawkeye's favorability for him rose from harmony to enthusiasm, Leon also finally saw the sphere of skill light floating around the body of Eagle Eye Clint Button. Proficient in Russian fighting proficiency. Among them, 2 skills attracted all his attention. Those are 2 spheres of light shining with purple light, with the names of skills marked on them, and at this moment, Leon finally knew that the next level of is. Not only that, he also drew a conclusion from the shining colors of the light ball. Different colored light represent different levels of skills. The white ball of light represents the skills of the level, the blue light ball represents the skills of the level, and the purple light ball represents the skills of the level. This made Leon's heart suddenly a lot of questions. Level of skills, how strong are they? After that, what will it be? Thinking of this, Leon is suddenly full of confidence in whether he can survive freely in this Marvel world.